Right, so now we're going to look at adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, we're going to look at adding normal fractions and subtracting normal fractions, and then adding and subtracting mixed number fractions. Okay, right, when we have to add fractions, our bottom number, our denominator, has to be the same. Okay, so it's quite complex, it's much more complex than multiplying. You need to make this bottom number the same. So we're going to change both 3/5 and 2/7 so that they have a common denominator. So you are looking for the lowest number that 5 and 7 both go into. So 5 and 7 both go into 35. That is the lowest number that both of them go into. However, if you cannot think of that, the easiest way to get a common denominator may not be the lowest denominator, but it is a common denominator, is to multiply the 5 and the 7. So 5 times 7 is 35, that is a common denominator. Okay? Right. I then want you to think about, what have you done to that 5 to get it to be 35? So to go from 5 to 35, we have times by 7. Now, because we need to keep the fractions equivalent, that means I've got to times the top by 7. So 3 times 7 makes 21. What have I done to that 7 to get it to be 35? I've times by 5. In order to keep the fractions equivalent, I have to do the same to the top. So 5 times 2 makes 10. So now our sum is 21 over 35 plus 10 over 35. When you are adding fractions, the bottom number stays the same. You don't add the bottom number, you just add the tops. So 21 plus 10 makes 31. The answer, 31 over 35. If you can simplify this, you should. Okay? But if you can't, then that's fine. Leave it as it is. Now this doesn't simplify because 31 is prime. There's no number that goes into 31 and 35. Okay? If it was top heavy, you need to make it mixed number. Okay? Right, question 2. We are subtracting now. 7/10 take away 5/11. Again, when you're subtracting, you need to have a common denominator. So, a nice easy way to get a common denominator is to times these two numbers. 11 times 10 is 110. What have I done to that 10 to get it to be 110? I've times it by 11. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So I've got to times the top by 11 to make 77. What have I done to that 11 to get it to be 110? I've times it by 10, so I've got to do the same to the top. 5 times 10 makes 50. Now this time be careful, it's asked us to subtract. So when we subtract, again the bottom stays the same, so the bottom stays as 110, and we've got to do 77 take away 50. Well, 77 take away 50 is 27. 27 divided by 110 or over 110 is our answer. If we could simplify it, we can, but there is no number that goes into 27 and 110. Okay? Right, number 3. 3/5 plus 7/8. 3/5 plus 7/8. Let's find our common denominator. Our common denominator is going to be 40. Both 5 and 8 go into 40. What have I done to the 5 to get it to be 40? I've times by 8, so I've got to do the same to the top. 3 times 8 makes 24. What have I done to the 8 to get it to be 40? I've times by 5, so I've got to do the same to the top to keep it equivalent. 7 5s are 35. Our bottom number stays the same, and we add our two tops. 24 plus 35 makes 59. Right, now here, what is wrong with that fraction? Well, that fraction is top heavy. So we can say, how many 40s go into 59? 1. How many left over? 19 over 40. The answer is 1 and 19 40ths. Okay? If you could simplify the 19 over 40, then you should. Okay? Right, number 4. We're approaching the hardest ones you'll get now. Okay? 3.5 plus 2 and 3/5. Your first step is to make them top heavy. Remember to make them top heavy. We do the whole times the bottom, add the top. Okay, whole times the bottom at the top. If you need to revise that, go and look at the video on converting between improper and mixed number fractions. Okay, whole times the bottom, 3 times 2 is 6, add 1 is 7, so it's 7 over 2, plus 2 times 5 is 10, plus the 3 is 13, 13 over 5. We've then got two fractions that are just like these ones that we have to add. So our common denominator is going to be 10. What have I done to that 2 to get it to be 10? I've times by 5. What have I got to do to the top? I've got to times by 5. 7 times 5 makes 35. What have I done to that 5 to get it to be 10? I've times by 2. What have I got to do to the top? I've got to times by 2. 13 times 2 is 26. 35 over 10 plus 26 over 10. Well, the 10 stays on the bottom. 35 plus 26 makes 61. Hopefully. Yeah, 61. That is then top heavy. How many 10s in 61 is 6? How many left over? 1 out of 10. 6 and 1 tenth. Okay, the last one we're going to do on this is subtracting a mixed number fraction. Just wait for it to come into focus, which it shall. Okay, 6, and we'll do this in the next video. So 6 2/3 minus 5 1/5. We need to make them top heavy, so the whole times the bottom at the top. So 6 times 3 is 18, add 2 is 20, 20 over 3, take away 5 times 5 is 25, add 1 is 26, 26 over 5. Our common denominator, 3 times 5 is 15. How do I get the 3 to be 15? I times by 5. So what do I do to the top? I times by 5. 20 times 5 is 100. What have I done to the 5 to get it to be 15? I've times by 3. So what do I do to the top? I times it by 3. Okay? 26 times 3 is, oh, wrong colour, is 78. Okay? We've then got 100 over 15, take away 78 over 15. 100 take away 78 is going to be 22 over 15. How many 15s are in 22? 1. How many left over? 7 out of 15. The answer, 1 and 7/15. That is adding and subtracting fractions.